let's talk about the peptides that didn't get banned, the GLP-1s, which is what a lot of people know as Wegovy, Ozempic. The generic names are tirzepatide, tirzepatide, and semaglutide. Weight loss drugs, GLP-1 agonists. Those are not on the ban list because FDA has, or Big Pharma has patents on those. But they can't patent the molecule, right? They can only patent the dosage and the brand name. So compounding pharmacies throughout the country are compounding those products for pennies on the dollar at a different dosage. And then what happens is, and that's because these products are on an FDA backorder list, okay? This is the whole cycle of the ludicrousness of this situation. The FDA is saying, hey, there's not enough of this product to meet the demand of the American people. And if we really look at what those drugs are, they're not a weight loss drug. They're a diabetes medication. And we know that diabetes indirectly directly impacts poverty-stricken and minority communities disproportionately. And so when we compound these medications to meet the needs of the people who can't get those medications or maybe can't afford those medications because they're on an FDA backorder list and they're asking us to compound them, Big Pharma then turns around and sues compounding pharmacies throughout the country, then uses their long reach of PR firms to put it in the news, make it sound like you don't know what you're doing, like these compounding pharmacies are dangerous, they're not regulated, it's the Wild West out there in compounding pharmacies, there's no oversight, these aren't FDA-approved products. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Do you know how many times the FDA's been in my pharmacy in 18 months? Twice. We've interacted with them 4 times in 18 months. Do you know that there are 2,500 manufacturing facilities owned by Big Pharma that have not been inspected in 5 or more years? 5 or more years. Furthermore, they've outsourced their manufacturing to third world countries in rural areas. And those products, when they come into the United States, do not go under FDA inspection. There is no validity testing like we do. There's no sterility testing. There's none of that. And so why are GLP-1s on back order? You want to know why?
Sure.
Because the Eli Lilly specifically with its product got one of their facilities shut down because they failed FDA inspection with egregious actions. We saw just a few weeks ago, eye drops that are from FDA-approved sources got recalled. And when a whistleblower blew the whistle, they go in and there's people in their isosterile rooms barefoot. Like the level of egregiousness and manipulation is insane. But when you control the media and you have the ear of the government and you can move chess pieces, it makes it hard to, be able to navigate that, compete with that, and educate people. And so if you didn't give me a platform, nobody would know this stuff. If it wasn't for people like you and Robert Kennedy and people who question things and challenge the system, I can't SEO optimize. I can't Google search engine optimize. I can't get these messages out. I called a PR firm to say, hey, how do we combat this and what can we do? And they were like, the best bet you have is long form media like podcasts. That's really the only way you're going to get it out there. It's not going to be something picked up by the media outlets.
Because they're dirty too.
Well, a lot of their advertising and funding comes from Big Pharma, and so it makes it tough.
Well, we found that out during the pandemic. But what's fascinating is it's had a terrible effect on their bottom line. Because people watch them shill for these pharmaceutical drug companies and not report adverse events and not report the dangers of shutting down schools and all the harm that it's doing to children, all the harm that's doing to business, because they didn't report on that, people lost faith in them.
Yep.
Like radically. CNN showed recently its lowest rating since 1991.
Well, look at what they did with you with the vaccines. And I don't know if you saw now. Two different articles in the last 60 days probably. One is that people who have been vaccinated multiple times over, I think, the age of 60 are at an increased risk of being hospitalized with COVID was one of the articles. Yeah. And then the other article was that 2 of the heads of the FDA that approved the vaccines now went to go work for Moderna. In the last 40 years, okay, the last 40 years of the FDA, 2 heads of the FDA have not gone to work for industry. 2.
Only 2.
That's nuts. That's insanity. And so, and that's the same thing that was happening at the DOJ. And that's why I wanted to bring up the DOJ. And as well, even though that they have nothing to do with the peptides, they are part of the healthcare industrial complex inadvertently, because they're being used as an attack dog by the big insurance companies. And all it takes is one orthopedic surgeon getting indicted for something, or one general surgeon getting indicted for something, for everyone to go, fuck that. I'm done. I'm not doing that test. I'm not doing a genetic test. Like, no way. And now insurance doesn't even cover any of those tests. And so they're going to force anything out of the marketplace with time. But in the short term, they're going to run their offense. And that same level of spit that's being swapped at the FDA is being swapped at the DOJ. So the big insurance companies attempt to recruit away DOJ prosecutors. And once they've built their reputation in working as a steward for the people at the Department of Justice, and they put some big hides on the wall and build a name for themselves, they'll get recruited to private industry. And one of the big options for them is to go work for the insurance companies, including the FBI agents. So most of the, and I say this because I don't think the average clinician in America even understands. When you have a insurance special investigative unit show up at your practice, which happens. So if you run a lot of blood tests, or you do a lot of genetic tests, or you do anything that the insurance company thinks, man, this guy's doing these tests, I don't want him doing these tests anymore, there's a chance that they send an auditor, and that auditor is a special investigative unit. And that guy is typically a former FBI agent that worked for the federal government, who still has all those connections at the office. And so there's just so much cross-pollination. And again, it's not me saying the DOJ is bad or the FDA is bad. I'm saying when they're given bad information, just like AI, information in, information out. Like,
why would they be upset at people running tests?
Well, this gets super complicated. We talked about this on the last podcast. So there's laws, rules, and regs, and the state and federal laws say that physicians are allowed to have an investment in an entity. So a lot of people don't know that. Like, when you go to a surgery center, there's a good chance that that surgeon owns into that surgery center. Okay, if you go to if you have a clinician like somebody from the mothership, they could not get their GLP-1 semaglutide, so they reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you get my dad semaglutide?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we make it at the pharmacy." The doctor wouldn't send.